Welcome everybody to our top producer interview today. I'm Edith Espinola with KW Bay Area Estates. I am the productivity coach, and I love to talk to agents who have found success doing their business. And so my special guest today is Pete Ruiz of the Ruiz Group of KW Coastal Estates. Thank you, Pete, for being here today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're here. And so I wanted to let everybody know, first off, if you could tell us like who you are. So how long have you been in the business? What is the volume of business that you're doing right now? How many people do you have on your team?
So I started at the end of 2015. So this is my 5th year in real estate. We have a team of, 6 agents, and we have 4 admin staff members full-time to us. And we did 128 million last year in 82 transactions.
That's great. So the 82 transactions that you did, how did you get the leads on that? Where did your business come from?
It comes from multiple sources. We have, referral business is huge for us. We get a lot of sign calls. We're big on listings. We preach listings. And especially in our market it's shifted now, but it's predominantly a second home market. Mm-hmm. So, signs in the ground are really important because you get people from out of the area coming to town, and then, they see your signs everywhere. So, we get a lot of phone calls just from our signs. We do ad spend on Zillow, Real Geeks, and other websites as well. But that's kind of the makeup of our business, those 3.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great. Well, thanks for letting me know exactly, where you're at today. So I want to go back a little bit in time, and I want to ask you, where, what did you do before you got into real estate?
I used to be a baseball player. That's
okay.
What I did. I did that for 8 years. Yeah.
And you were with the Boston Redsox, right?
That's right.
Right.
I was.
So when you were a little kid, is that something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah. My mom still has it framed up. 2nd grade report says, all your information of your family, this and that. And it says, what do you want to do when you grow up? It says, I want to be a baseball player. So
that's great. And you accomplished your dream of becoming a baseball player. So, and congratulations. I know you were very successful as a baseball player. Is there, what is it about being in professional sports, being a professional athlete that, brings, that you bring to your current career as a realtor, that you find helps you with your success?
Yeah, that's a good question because they parallel each other directly, in my opinion. So as an athlete, you come up through high school and college, you have coaches and you're told what to do, right? And then when you become a professional athlete, at some point it shifts to where you start getting compensated more than the coaching staff, right? And so the dynamic shifts. And so it's less of being told what to do and more about you having the ability to create your own routine because you're at the top and no one's going to tell you what to do because you've obviously shown some sort of discipline to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. So real estate parallels professional sports, very, very closely because we don't have set hours. No one's telling you have to come in. You're not getting paid by the hour. You're responsible. You're the master of your own destiny. So I've had a lot of experience of having to create routine and stick to routine that makes me successful, whether it's good or bad. And that was the biggest thing that helped me with baseball. We always talk about trusting the process, right? Mm-hmm. I was a pitcher, so not every outing is going to be good. Sometimes you're going to get hit around. Sometimes you're going to be great, but deviating from the routine consistently is going to make you even more consistent. So having that wherewithal, sometimes in real estate, we're writing handwritten note cards, we're beating on doors or cold calling. And it's just like, no, over and over. It's easy to think, well, I'll just go buy these leads or I'll go do this or that. But if you really trust the process and you know what you're trying to accomplish in the end, that it's going to be successful, then that's the hardest part. But that was professional sports too. It was identical.
Yeah, and I really like what you explained about it. So would you be okay if we kind of broke it down into a couple of little pieces, because there was a lot of information in there. So number one, coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And coaching and training, both kind of two different things. One supports the other, correct? And so when you first started off your career, what was it that you think really helped you to, learn how to trust the process, right? Because I would imagine, knowing what it is that you wanted to do and be successful in it, that the coaches and the trainers, they knew what it was to help you find it within yourself. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so trusting the process, tell me about that.
Well, I think to go back to what you first said was, asking questions. That was the number one thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the Red Sox were really great because they brought back a lot of Hall of Fame, players. Like every spring training was Carl Yastrzemski, Jim Rice, Pedro Martinez, big names, right? And they're at your disposal. And so it was kind of shocking to me how many guys didn't really pick their brain, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Louis Tion, another guy that was there all the time, and he's just sitting in a golf cart by himself watching spring training, and no one's talking to him. And I'm like, this guy's got 15 years in the big leagues. I'm going to ask. So I just started asking questions, and then I started asking, hitters questions like, well, what would, Jason, what would I ask Jason Varitek? He was a catcher, right? Oh, he's a hitter. Well, let me get it from his perspective. So for me, the process started with asking questions, and I kind of looked at it like a buffet, right? Like I can pick and choose what I like. I can leave what I don't. But if I don't ask the question, I won't get the information. So the same thing I feel like in our world, where people they're afraid to ask questions. They're on their own. They think their question's stupid. They think someone won't give them the time of day or answer it. And when I first started asking and I started getting really valuable information, that's when I just kept asking, because people want to share. And especially successful people, I was always afraid, like, well, they're not going to want to give me the time of day because, I'm in AAA right now and they're a Hall of Famer. But it's quite the contrary. And I feel like it's the same in real estate. People that are super successful see the abundance and they're willing, because there is abundance. And I think people that are not successful feel like, I can't tell anyone my trade secrets. I can't communicate. If I tell them this, then they're going to know how I get my business. And once you get out of that mindset and you start really becoming a sponge and asking the right questions, it can open a lot of doors, big time.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? So we're going to go parallel between real estate and pro ball, okay?
Yep.
So, I love that you went and you asked questions of all of these, iconic players who have proved their success by what they did. And I love that you went and you asked them, their perspective, and then you could use their answers from your perspective as a pitcher, right? So now in real estate, you're with Keller Williams, and the culture within Keller Williams is that, the top producers share with the office what they know, what their knowledge, their skills, and their experiences, right? Like, we stand on the shoulders of giants. We stand on the shoulders of the agents who came before us. So, when you first started in real estate, did you have a mentor in the business? And was Keller Williams the first company that you joined?
I was with Coldwell Banker for like 3 weeks. And what happened was I was ready to go, and they were like, you need to take classes up in Concord, which is 2.5 hours for me. You need to do all this training. You're not ready. You're a liability, blah, blah, blah. And I don't learn that way. I don't learn in classrooms. I don't learn by books. I learn by doing. And so it was really the antithesis of my approach. And then I met Mark Von Canel down here. I went to a Tony Giordano social media training, and I met Mark, and he just started, I mean, I didn't know I was being recruited. I was so new to that. I didn't know you did that in real estate. But so we started talking, and he said that, he's like, look, if you can get business today, he's like, come with us, go get it, and we'll figure out the rest on the back end, and we'll support you. He's like, but getting the business is the hardest part. And if you can do that, then go do it. So Mark was my mentor. Mark was super busy. So his old assistant, Tia Frazier, was actually a huge, huge influence on my real estate career. She helped me out tremendously. So I had their support, but I also did a lot on my own and just took a lot of initiative by myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome, right? Because you knew that you were successful in your prior career. So you had there was no reason for you to doubt that you would not be successful in real estate. So, you started, and I don't know what the classes were that were taking, what the training schedule was at the time that you started over in Carmel, but did you find any help by the training provided by KW?
I'll be honest. I mean, no, I went to one Ignite class, and I sat there and I was like, this isn't helping me generate business. Like, this is good stuff, but I need to be in front of people. And so my mission from day one, from second one, was, if it's not going to generate me business, I'm not going to do it. And so I went out and I just started beating on doors, honestly, is what I did. And so the way my career worked was, and I always tell people this, I knocked on one door. One door changed my life, and it's the truth. Retired from baseball. My wife is in a Facebook group called MLB Wives and Girlfriends, right? So you had to be a wife of a player, blah, 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 closed group. So this one very prominent ex-player, his wife was selling baby clothes. And I noticed that she was a realtor with Keller Williams. I had just got my license like 3 days prior. And so I said to my wife, I go, let me write her a message from your account. And so I wrote and I said, hey, my husband just retired from baseball. We're not really sure about the future. Will you take less for the baby clothes? They were ugly. I didn't even want them. But she, like, hook, line, and sinker. She goes, oh, real estate. She's like, I'm in real estate. Oh, really? Who are you with? Keller Williams. Oh, he just joined with Keller Williams. Oh my gosh. He needs to meet Jason Abrams. Do you know Jason Abrams?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So she got me a 2-hour coaching session with Jason Abrams at no cost. Right.
Wow.
And I didn't know who Jason was or anything, but I sat down on a Sunday and that dude was like fire hose. Right. And I'm just like trying to take notes as much as I can. But the one thing that I took away from him, he basically gave me 4 pillars of business. The one that would cost me no money that I could do that day was expired listings.
Wow.
And so that's when I learned about expired listings. And that's when I started working expireds. And so you fast forward a week, I'm knocking on the door of an expired. It took 3 different times I had to knock on that door. Finally got the listing. Mark came down. He's like, I'll do it, in Carmel. Got the price reduction. Did the open house the first weekend. This old guy walks in, crotchety, rude, stained clothes. Like it was crazy. And his name is Bill Dwyer. And I've done 27 transactions with Bill Dwyer since 2015.
Oh my God. That is
so that's how it started for me. But again, it was connecting the dots. And I think not being afraid to be in front of people. And I always tell people this too, like, they're like, you're fearless. Yeah. Cause I've gotten my butt kicked in front of 30,000 people before. Like, there's nothing more humiliating than that. And in baseball, they walk out and they take the ball from you, you walk back, and it's pretty miserable. Right. And so I don't have a fear of failure because I've done it at the highest level possible in another life. Right. So I swore to myself when I was done with baseball that I would never get in my own way again. Because I did that in baseball. You think, you question, there's a lot of moving parts. And so I said to myself, I'm never going to have that feeling again. So when I got to real estate, that's still my approach, right? I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to go after something. And that's just kind of how I approach it. But literally one door changed my whole career.
Wow, that's amazing. And, at the time when you met with Jason Abrams, who is the, I don't know if his title is director or VP of industry for KWRI, right? He's
Mhm.
amazing and powerful and very insightful on what it takes to build a career. So you having that 2-hour coaching session with him, that must have really set you on the right path.
Yeah, I didn't know what an expired listing was until he told me. You
Hmm.
know, I had no idea what that was. So
Right.
to round it out with talking about the trainings and stuff, yes, I think some of the trainings with KW are great, but that initiative, that, you know, getting in front of people like that, you know, that's not something that I was going to get from an Ignite class or anything like that. So it's a combination of the two. I think coaching is critical. I think you need to have someone guiding you on where to start, pick a focus, what are your strengths, roll with your strengths.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, for me, it was just like, I just felt like I needed to get out and do it and just get
Hmm.
in front of people. And so
Right.
that's where I spent most of my time and energy in socialize, networking. You know, here's the other thing I say to myself, not that trainings are bad, but when I sit in a room of 50 realtors, the first thing that goes in my head is none of these people are going to do a deal with me.
Hmm.
That's my
Really?
first, that's
That's interesting. So why do you think that?
because you're not going to have me list your house. Right? So I look at it like I need to be in a room of 50 people that are potential clients,
Hmm.
right? So again, it's not that I don't like trainings or think that they're valuable. I just try to spend 100% of my time and energy being in front of people that I know are going to do business with me.
Right, I see. So, the trainings part, and I don't want to like go on too much about this, but I do think that it's important, right? That
Mhm.
training, because a lot of times that's how people know how to do real estate, or at least get enough information so that they understand what's involved in doing a transaction, right?
Sure.
So, would you ever be open to doing a training class, or is that something that you would say, no, don't want to do it?
Well, so my rebuttal to that is that you can be you can be a real estate attorney, right? I know contracts inside and out. I know how to read a prelim up and down, blah, 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 blah. If you don't have a client, it doesn't matter. It's not relevant, right? So while I do think trainings are important to refine your skills, I think I kind of, again, to the sports parallel, because that's what I know. I look at it like someone who's like, you know, eye black, ready to go, best new cleats, all the gear, whatever they want, and they're just on the sideline, right? They're just
Hmm.
watching the happen. And so sometimes I think I like that KW offers a lot of training, but sometimes I think it can be too much and too enabling where agents go to, well, I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday to these trainings, and they think they're working,
Right,
right? I sat in a training for 4 hours today, and
right,
you took a bunch of notes in your notebook and all these great ideas and stuff, but are you really implementing them? Are you really going out and doing it? And that's where I think it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword where people think they're working. Oh, I went to work today. I went to a training today for 3 hours. But did you get in front of a client? Do you have a listing appointment? Did you show property? What sales activities are you doing? So that's
right.
where I look at it. You know, that's my perspective.
Right, right. What money making activities are you doing, right? So that the training is there to support it, but we are in a lead generation business, right? So we want to make sure that we time block every day to do
Yep.
our lead gen or
Yep.
whatever our money making activity is. Well, no, we have to time block for lead gen, right? And I say that a minimum of 2 hours a day of just contacting and doing lead gen is what we need to do. So how many hours a day do you do lead gen?
So right now I'm just on defense. It's so inbound for us right now that it's shifted from, you know, the 2 hours. I used to do 2, 3 hours every day of outbound, but now it's just more structuring a funnel so that we can capture how much business is coming inbound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm very fortunate that I'm in the position that I'm in now where I don't have to be as outbound and that we can subsidize it with, you know, a monthly spend where our lead gen, you know, is coming to us. So, but prior to that, when I first started, I mean, it was every day. So an expired packet for me used to be a 1-page handwritten letter. And then it was a bio about myself. It was a CMA. And I would hand deliver them, every single one. I'd put them in a folder and I'd hand deliver them. And sometimes I'd drive 40 minutes to the place, knock on the door, and they're like, yeah, the listing agent's my cousin. And I'm just like, crap, you know, that was a lot of time. But the 2 or 3 people over my first year that were like, wow, this guy showed up to my door, and my last agent, I felt like I didn't get the right service. And this guy's, you know, right here in my face, ready to go. I got to, you know, and I think that's important to catch what I said.
Yeah.
2 to 3 listings my first year,
Right.
Like, and every day of putting packets and writing note cards and doing all that stuff, 2 to 3, you know. And so, and then you get that listing, and then you got to connect the dot. Well, how do I get a buyer? How do I get another listing? What am I doing to generate that? So, yeah, it takes a lot of hard work to get to that place, but eventually it will shift if you're in the market enough and you're doing enough. Where and now 5 years in, we're really starting to see the turnover. Sold someone the house, we need to resell it.
Right.
We're upgrading. Our friends are moving here, whatever. So now it's a ton of referral base. So it's more so, my time is more so spent structuring database, structuring the team, structuring our system so that we can provide, you know, excellent service to these leads that are coming to us.
I love that. So just real briefly, how many transactions did you do in your first year?
My first 6 months from when I started, I did 6 million. I couldn't tell you how many deals I did. I want to say I probably did around 8 transactions, maybe 9 in my first. And then my first full year, I did just under 19 million. And I think I did somewhere around 23 transactions. And then I did the next year 38 million. And then we did 68 million. And then this last year we did 128.
So you keep doubling. You keep
Yeah.
doubling. I love it. I love it. And the key things here is that you focus on money making activities and lead generation, right? And right. And, you know, then paralleling back to the sports, right? It's like, you don't necessarily attend classes. You reach out to, you know, the rock stars, the ones, the superstars, right? And you're able to talk with them and ask some questions. So in the Keller Williams world, or in the real estate world, you know, who would be like some top producers that you would go and talk to right now?
That's a good question. You know, I kind of just, right now, I kind of just watch and I emulate a lot of other people. So like one person that I really admire that I like a lot is Ryan Serhant. He's out of New York. He's on that $1 Million Listing show, but,
Oh yeah.
you know, he does 800 million in a year. Now that's going to shift. We'll see what happens in New York, but, I like his style. I like his approach, and I just emulate a lot of things he does just by watching him on social media, and his website and things like that. So I say that I look at, sorry, I just got a call. Hold on.
That's okay.
I look at people on a national level. So, oh my gosh, he's a $60 million seller. That's why he calls me 3 times in a row. But, the point is that so on a national level with KW, Lance Loken was big for me. Yeah. I went to a Lance Loken presentation a couple years ago, and that was really eye-opening to me from a perspective of what happens if you get too big, right?
Right.
You know, he's talking, oh, we have 60 people, this and that, and everyone's all, you know, 400 million in sales, this and that, and I was just like, what's your net? I just asked him, I'm like, what's your net? He's like, well, it's about 20%. So I'm doing the math, like, okay, 4 million GCI, 20%, he's taking home $1 million to have 1,500 headaches a year, right? So there were things that I took away from that I was like, I really like how he structures this. And then it was also looking at it from the other side of being like, okay, well, what happens if you get too big? What, you know, your overhead grows too much. So Lance was a big person for me within KW. Serhant for sure. I spent a lot of time with Mauricio Umansky from the agency down in LA, to see how they do their stuff. You know, I'll take a recruiting opportunity to learn someone else's business because they unroll the playbook, you know? Right. So that was another, you know, big influence, seeing a big operation like his, a guy that does 600 million in a year, you know, kind of what that looks like. And then there's a local guy with Coldwell Banker here, Tim Allen. I follow him very closely because he's a competitor and what he's doing. And so it just kind of depends. But our models are different. He's exclusive luxury, like super exclusive luxury. We're not. We're unit based. We're more the KW model where it's like a deal is a deal, and we'll do a $500,000 deal or a $5 million deal. And so we did, like I said, 82 deals last year. The next person in the county did 52.
Wow.
So unit based, we work harder, but my team and I, we have a blue collar approach. We want to provide service to the $500,000 seller because we feel like they get overlooked in this market all the time. So for us, it's more about just bringing a really quality service, whether you're 500K or 5 million, like I said, you're going to get staging, Matterport website, you're going to get the whole team. And so for us, you know, it's death by 1,000 cuts. We get there with a lot more deals, but we get there, and we like servicing that clientele as well.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So, you know, every year it sounds like you've doubled your business, right? And you've doubled your volume. So I'm wondering, you know, at what point did you get your first hire on your team, and who was it?
So that would be my first full year. I hired my mom, actually. So my mom was our team admin. She kind of just did everything. And then we brought our first buyer's agent on. And then from there, it's just a talent search, right? So I like to pull people in, you know, being from sports, being recruited, right? I know how that process works. And I coached baseball too. So I have an eye for trying to see people for what their strengths are. And it doesn't necessarily they don't have to be in the real estate industry. I think a lot of people make mistakes when they're trying to build their team going like, well, you know, who's in the office or who's in real estate. You know, my mom was the accountant at CSUMB, the college. And, but she's organized, she's structured, and, you know, she works hard. So I was like, okay, she's talent. We can figure out the rest. And then my first buyer's agent came out of medical sales. And I'm like, you know, he's talent. We'll figure out the rest. The next guy that we got was the front desk. He was the Dofi for a year. And you know, you're 30, you're super personable. Like, what are you doing? Like, go get your life. And so now, you know, he's doing 15 million a year. And then after that, we brought in a transaction coordinator exclusively to us. That was our next move. And then we got a rock star producer. We got a $20 million producer. And then we just hired our agent services coordinator now. So she handles both buyer seller side, lock boxes, signage, inspections, opening doors, meeting appraisers, basically anything that's not a lead generating activity for the agents, you know, that she manages that. So we've basically tried to say, look, there's sales and there's admin. And if I catch any of the sales team doing something that's a $15, $20, $30 an hour task, we have a problem. So we basically structured it to where their focus is business and only business. And I think the other important thing is what has made us successful. I kind of look at it like a student-teacher ratio. I try to be 1-to-1, right? So a lot of people are like, how many agents can I get on my team? And how I'll put my feet up and I'll just make money off of their deals. But I try to peel it back from the agent's perspective of, okay, I'm paying 50%, 30% of my deal, whatever it is. What are you providing me? Right. And so I kind of, you know, a lot of companies are like this, whether, you know, whoever you want to call them, CEO, whatever's up here. I try to run it this way. I try to empower the team. Right. And so everyone has a voice. Every suggestion is heard. I have no ego in how we structure it as long as it runs smoothly. And so I think that's why we're successful, because we've kind of all built it together. And again, it's just about the support, and we have a lot of support for our agents, which is really good.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. And I think that it's quite the talent to be able to, to meet somebody, talk with them and see their talent, right? Now, KW has the KPA, the Keller Personality Assessment. Do you do that with your team? No?
no,
You just go strictly on your intuition and what you know as a coach and somebody who's been dealing with lots of people the majority of your life, right?
I can sit down across from somebody and I can see their strengths, right? So, so let's see. Dom is our IT gal. Nat's my mom. Gina is our admin. Jessica's our TC. One of the 4 admins was in real estate prior.
Right.
And then out of our agents, out of the 6, 2 were in real estate prior.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's just, I think I've done it enough now to know what is required on either side. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of our agent services coordinator, who's a rock star, her parents own a sporting goods store and they do embroideries and trophies. And so I coached her son in baseball, and she was just always hair on fire, but she did everything for the high school, right? She did the trophies. She did the shirts for practice, the silkstream. She organized team dinners, and she was just like, and I'm like, okay, this lady can do 50 things at once with 3 boys. She can do real estate, right?
Yeah.
She can handle how crazy our business is. And so I just asked her. Again, it starts with asking, right?
Right.
Hey, would you ever be interested in doing this? And she was like, yeah, that would be super. I've been looking for a change of scenery. What do you know? Blah, blah, blah. And now it's unbelievable. I mean, it's literally unbelievable. We have a template. We built a website. In the back end of the website, we put in a deal. So like if I get a buyer, we put it in there, and all this pertinent information that we know up front, we push submit, and it goes. It goes to Natalie, Jessica, Gina, and Dom, and it's handled. Intro email to the client. Hey, here's who I am. Here's what I'll be doing. Inspections get ordered. She coordinates with the listing agent. I'll be there to let the person in. I mean, it just gets done, right? So, but
Yeah,
again, you got to go and find the right talent to do that. That's the big key.
Right. And talent is the big key, right? Like just knowing that, hey, you don't have to have the experience in real estate. I'll give you that. Right. And that makes sense, Pete, because when you started, you were like, I just want to do it. Right. I just want to do it. So it makes sense that that's how you would have your team is I see the talent in you and you're just going to do it. Right. Because I know that you can. So yeah. So now your team, do you have them doing any lead gen activities, or are they all handling the leads that are coming in?
No, they do both. They absolutely do both. And so what I do is I do a weekly coaching session with them. It's just a 30-minute check-in. And honestly, I let them tell me what they want. Right. And I think that's the other problem with a lot of team leaders. They try to drive people to be themselves. Right. And it's like, I did 84 million myself last year. I'm not going to expect Adam to do that, right? Like and if he did do that and he was capable of doing that right now, he would have his own team. Right. So I think it's a very fine line of pushing people to reach their potential, but also understanding, I got one guy that's like, I just want to do 20 million a year. That's it. I really love cycling and I love my weekends, and I just do, and he does 20 million a year, and that's what he's going to be. And that's what he wants to be. And so I just support him in that. Mm-hmm. And so, what we're talking about now is, well, if you're going to do that and that's what you want to do and that's what you're happy doing, you might as well increase your average price point, right? Why do $21 deals when you could do 10 at 2 million? And so our focus with him and what he wants is, how do I push that price point? So that's where we spend our time and energy. So again, I think it's about being flexible with your people and understanding your audience and understanding what they really want. And again, it comes back down to communication and asking, right? Ask the questions and then listen. Let them tell you what they want, and be receptive to that and understanding of that and encouraging of that. So, so again, it's some people, that want to conquer the world. Like I got one gal that's like, I want to do 50 million. And I'm like, then you need to absolutely murder the phones, period. So that's her focus. business. So some do, some are inbound. They're like, I'm just going to take what comes to me and just convert it. And they're very good at that. And they're very comfortable with that. And I'm okay with that, you know?
That's really awesome, right? It sounds like you're in total acceptance of whatever it is that they want, how they want to live their life, right? Like really supporting that. And when it's a win-win, that's even better. But of course it's going to be a win-win because you both want to, you know, support each other. So, you know, talking about everybody else's, you know, the way that they want to live their life and what maybe their goal is. So what is your goal in life? What is it that you would like everything that you're doing, Pete? I know because you are a professional athlete that, you know, once a professional athlete, always one, right? I mean, my cousin's husband is a pro baller too. So, you know, because that's who you are, what is it that you would like to accomplish in your life?
Right. That's a good question. For me, it's security for my kids and my family. So I'm very entrepreneurial. I like things outside of real estate too. I just like business. I like meeting people, creating relationships, and you know, the most successful people that I've been around, and this business is amazing because you get to get in front of some really exceptional people, you know, that have accomplished a lot. And so for me, it's just, they seem happy to me, you know, they just seem really happy. Like they can go anywhere they want, whenever they want. And it's not about like material things, you know, like it's the freedom. It's the ability to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. And that finances are not going to get in the way of that. So in a selfish way, money is a driver for me, but it's not because I want to go buy a Ferrari. It's because if I want to take my kids to Fiji for a week because we feel like it, we can. So I think I work crazy hard. My goal right now is just head down and just keep driving and just see how far I can push this thing. And I work hard. I mean, the last 2 weeks I've been in the office until 9 p.m. minimum every night, and I'm here at 7. So, I mean, I'm working hard, but it's with the understanding of building something that's bigger than me, which it is, right? All of a sudden deals are being done. I didn't even know it was in contract. It's just happening, right? But the driver behind that is, again, if my daughter gets into a $80,000 a year school or something, I don't have, you know, I can, go for it. I can support you to do that. If my son wants to go to camp or whatever, I can support that and do that. So the driver is my family, and the vehicle is money, and I'll say it and I'll be honest, but the end goal is to create a drip, right? And that's the MREA book, right? It's
absolutely. It's not about the money, right?
Think $1 million, earn $1 million, receive $1 million. And that's the hard part, you know, receiving is the hard part and structuring it. But again, the beautiful part about the receiving the $1 million part is that if I'm doing that, I know that I've improved a lot of other people's lives along the way, and I've made them better, you know? So it's a win all the way around. But the driver is, for me, the driver is freedom and freedom for my family.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It sounds like freedom is what it is that you're creating for you and your family, right? The freedom to do whatever you want when you want it. And absolutely, you know, real estate is the vehicle to do it. And, you know, and I love that you're like, I want to make the money, right? Because the money is going to get you the freedom that you want. And that's really what it's all about. So, you know, I love that your perspective is the more you help others, the more, you know, you receive. And then also, you know, we're talking about your agents, your team, but also all of your clients that you've been helping, right? I mean, the more you help them, then the more they want to refer business to you because you have helped them.
Yep, exactly. And the power of a team too is that we can help a lot of clients that an individual agent couldn't, right? So like, for example, we just sold a place $1 million deal. And she had a flood. She lives in LA. She's 87 years old. A pipe burst in her house and it flooded. And
Right.
she's like, what do I do? Right. And so we communicated with the insurance company. We got disaster clean there. We hired a contractor. We picked the finishes. We put the house back together. We staged it. We sold it. And she's just like, and we sold it for probably $20,000 over market value.
Awesome.
And she was like, what just happened? I said, don't worry about it. Just send us your friends. Right. So, but that, you know, so again, for me, that's kind of, you know, that means we're doing something right. You know, there's a sweet 87-year-old lady that's just like, literally her house is underwater.
Right.
And in a month we put it back together and we sold it for crazy top dollar. That to me is better than selling a $20 million house in Pebble Beach. I mean, that's, you know, that's kind of what it's about. And when you have that mentality and attitude, I think it permeates, and I think people really receive it and feel it and know it. And like you said, it's just moss to a flame. They just,
Right.
you know, they'll come back. So
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. I want to take a few minutes. I want to see if anybody has any questions. So if anyone has any questions for Pete, go ahead and raise your hand and I can call on you. I can unmute you. We have 35 people on here right now. What? Nobody's got any questions? I'm gonna take that as I'm asking good questions. Oh, here we go. Kat, you got a question?
Edith, I have a question.
Okay.
I just had a comment.
Oh,
Yeah, Marilla, I'll go to you next.
of course. Yeah,
Okay, Kat.
Just like,
I'll take a
just wanted
number.
to say, just say Pete is such a rock star. I remember the first time I met him, it was like the first, like a couple months that I was working at Keller Williams, and I went down to Carmel for the Ferrari. It was like there's some like Ferrari festival down there, some car show. And it was actually at the Keller Williams Carmel office. And he was so nice. And then my mom was talking to him too. And she's like, oh, this guy's a realtor at Keller Williams too, baby. And I was like, oh my goodness, Mom, it's the same company. And so it's just like, so nice. And it's like, so cool to hear your background. Cause I don't know, Pete, if you,
Oh,
you lost me. Sorry. I was like, I don't know, Pete's like a kind of an idol for me because like from the athletic background into real estate, I feel like I can connect on that level. So I'm just like, keep using that competitive mentality in everything I do. Like, I know Edith can tell you, I'm always like the first person to raise my hand and do something in all the situations. And I don't know. I'm just keeping an eye. I took notes on everyone you keep an eye on, Ryan Surhart and Tim Allen, and I'll start following them and see what they're doing too.
yeah, for sure. No, and I appreciate the comments. Very sweet. Very, very sweet.
Yeah, thank you, Kat. Marilla, you had a quick question?
Don't worry, it's not a big question, not a long one.
Okay, great. We have a few
Too
minutes.
much.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing everything. That was really interesting, hearing about your prior career in pro baseball and then switching over to real estate. And I think what I really admired, I have to mention that, is kind of your willingness to be humble and just start over and just not be, you know, hey, well, I already have done this, so, you know, therefore it should be easy for me. And it doesn't seem like you did that. So I really admire that. But I wanted to ask you, do you remember your very first deal and how did it go? You know, was it very difficult or was it pretty easy for you?
Yeah, my first deal was a $225,000 vacant lot in Salinas, and I got a Zillow lead. So when I first started, I got a call from a gal in San Diego who was a Zillow rep, and she's like, look, a lot of people in your area are not spending on Zillow, and it's a great resource. And so it was $174 a month for the South Salinas zip code. And I was like, man, I don't know. So I did it, right? Today we spend $15,000 a month on Zillow, which is crazy, you know, but so I met these two guys, and he said he wanted to meet me at Denny's. He goes, I want to meet you at Denny's. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
Two massive, heavy-set guys come in, and they're just like these salt-of-the-earth guys. And we ate breakfast at Denny's, and they said, we want to buy this lot around the corner. And I was like, okay. And they go, we're cash, so it'll be an easy deal. And so that was the deal. I ended up doing about 15 transactions with them. It turns out that their father was a very successful car dealership owner in Salinas, and they have a ton of money and they invest in real estate. They haven't done anything in years because the market's hot right now, but they'll come back around. But that was the first deal I ever did, was Padre Lane, South Salinas, $228,000 for a vacant piece of dirt. That was it.
That's awesome.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
cool. Yeah.
Thanks, Morella. That was a good question. So Dominic Cava, he says, does your sore shoulder limit your door knocking?
As much as it limits his golf game. I know Dominic very well. But yeah, I just go lefty, Dom. You know that I'm athletic enough. If I have to go lefty, I'll go lefty.
That sounds great. I have time for one more question. Anybody else have a question? No? Okay.
Yeah, you know what?
Jim.
Oh, boy.
I have to say something.
Oh, boy.
Of course you do.
Thank you, brother. It's good seeing you, man. This has been great. But you know what? I just wanted to just point out that, you know, I've had the privilege of being with you in the same office for 6 months and watch you as you work. And you have an incredible gift of being able to focus on what's important and get rid of all the, excuse me, ladies, the shit in your life without excuses. And you just focus on what makes you money. And I know we all get sucked into BS. How do you keep out of that? I mean, you just have a great gift of just like, you know, just get out of my way. I'm doing this and going forward. What do you do to make that happen?
That's a really good point, Jim, because you're right. That is true. And that's what I preach to the sales team. So I think what it is it's just parting the sea, is like really, really looking at, is this genuinely a sales generating activity, or is this an admin activity? And just really defining the two, and then holding yourself accountable to not letting yourself fall, you know, go across and toe that line. Right. And so I think what allowed me to do that was starting my team, because I preached to them that, and who would I be if I didn't do that? Right. So, so for me, it's really through coaching and teaching and educating them that holds me accountable to making sure that I'm not doing, you know, things that are not sales related. But I basically said, when I sat down with my mom and I sat down with Gina and our transaction coordinator, I just noticed that agents would put something in contract, and I call it babysitting, right? It's like, oh, well, I have a deal now, so I'm going to go to the home inspection. I'm going to go open the door. I'm going to go meet the appraiser. And I call it babysitting. And so I said, we need to create a structure to where it's no longer an option for them to do those things, right? It's just not even, it's mandatory that you don't do that. And so what I noticed was we were enabling agents to have the ability to order a sign or to go put lock boxes at a property or whatever it was. And so when we completely just put it on paper and said, here's this side, here's that side, and we eliminated it, and we created a process to eliminate it, so it's not even an option, I think that's what allows us to just stay hyper focused on what we're doing. But it's a process. And again, it's a leading with revenue model, right? Like we get to a place where it's like, okay, 60 grand to bring on another body based on 3 million in GCI that we earn is money well spent to eliminate these $15 an hour tasks, right? So I think it changes as you grow, but I think the first thing you do is you just put a line on a piece of paper and you just write like what is sales and what is not. And that's kind of what we started with. And that's how we keep it that way.
Very cool. Thanks, brother. Good seeing you.
Yeah. Good to see you. All right.
That was a great question, Jim. Thank you. So, you know, Pete, that's awesome, because it's like when you really know what the situation is, right? The reality of the situation by putting things down and understanding the sales versus the admin, then you know what you're dealing with, and you know, once you know where you're starting, right? Then it's easier for you to get where you're going. So I love that. I love that. You have been amazing, and thank you
Oh,
so much for, accepting my invitation to speak
yeah.
with us today. Um, what special words, or what guidance, what words of wisdom, from all of your experience in all aspects of your life, right? Because like I said, once a pro athlete, always a pro athlete. There's that, right? There's that drive and that competitiveness, and then the wisdom that comes with that, and then building your business to where you're doing 82 transactions in 5 years, right? You've got a big business. So what words of wisdom would you like to leave with everybody today?
I think you have to, I think for me to understand how I tick and the way I think, I know what the gasoline is that drives my motor, and it's people telling me that I can't. And so I'm not saying that needs to be your gasoline or anyone else's, but you have to know what fuels you. And the driver for all of this, we talked about freedom and all that, but that's a byproduct of the success, right? But what really like motivates me is, and there's nothing better than being humble, sitting back, and just letting the numbers talk, right? Like the scoreboard. And that's what it is for me. It's just, I love the scoreboard. I love the chase. I love trying to scrap to get to number one. Not because of an ego thing, but more so to say, I told you so. Like I knew I could do it. And the best way to say I told you so is to not say it at all.
Right,
And
right.
so that's what drives me. Again, the Colville banker, the manager at Colville Banker, he's like, he said to me, I asked for a logo because I wanted to make schedules, giant schedules, because I had 50 parents that I gave lessons to their kids. I'm like, this is a great way to start, right?
Yeah.
He said, you're wasting your money, you're wasting your time, you're not ready, you don't know what you're doing. And that was the biggest benefit and mistake for him that he could have ever made, because that was just like, all right, I mean, 5 years later, I still think about that. 40 years, I'll think about it. Right. So
right.
it's, you got to know what your gasoline is. You got to know what pushes you. You got to know. And for me, it's people telling me, you can't do that. There's no way. We hear it all the time down here. You can't do 2,000 transactions in Carmel. You can't do 500. Okay, well, we're going to do it. And I love that part. So that's my word of advice, is that, there's a lot of negative energy in this industry. There's a lot of people that want to bring you down. There's a lot of people that, clients can be shady. Other agents can be unethical. It's a very, very unique world, right? But if you can put the blinders on and you can use all that nonsense as fuel, it can just absolutely elevate you wherever. I'm living proof,
Yeah, absolutely living proof.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like, you know what your vision is, right?
Yeah.
And you have the mindset and the belief in yourself that you're going to achieve your vision. And like you said, the gas, right? Like you get more benefit out of having something to push against that drives you, right? Like some people, they can, they don't need to have something to push against. They can have something pushing them. But for you, which, makes sense as an athlete, like, let me push, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so you've got you've got something to push against, you've got the mindset, and you've got the vision. And, I'm so thankful again that you shared everything today. You've been wonderful to talk to. I look forward to your continued success. And when the offices open back up, you'll see me again across yours. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Pete Ruiz, you have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.